Okay, next we're going to dive into understanding information security. Although it is possible to hack anything, the most common hacks happen from human error, humans not knowing what they are doing. One of my favorite stories to tell is when I was on Kirtland Air Force Base, the Department of Defense hired a couple of guys to break into the base and just see how far that they could get. They broke into the base. Actually, let me make myself a little bit bigger since I'm talking. I look like it's been a rough day, and it has. It is almost 9 o'clock at night. But they broke into the base using a pizza. They pulled up to the gate and said, "Hey, we're new with Pizza 9, and we have a delivery for building, whatever building 1001." They let them through the base with a pizza. They found a quiet place to hang out, waited till everybody left. Camped out all night. They took a black felt pen, and on the key codes of the doors, where's my paint? Everyone knows that those key codes that come on the doors have, make sure I'm not in the way, 9-digit keypads on them. Probably actually be easier to show you on a calculator. I know I'm kind of moving fast here. So, out of the 9 digits, 1 through 9, you have to type in 4 of them to get the correct, the correct combination. So they took a black felt pen and colored them all in. And they did this to several buildings. Well, when they came back, 4 of them had the felt pen worn off. Well, 2 to the 4th power is 16, so they now have 16 different combinations to try to get into these buildings. So that didn't take them very long, so now they're into the buildings. People had passwords written down underneath their keyboards. People had combinations of the safes and their unlocked gestures when the safes were right next to it, and things like that. Now the passwords on the keyboards, that was the big foul. Everybody saw that with a 16-character password that required upper and lowercase numbers and special characters, what everybody was doing, and they had to change these passwords all the time, so they were really hard to remember. So everyone was going 1QAZ, hold the shift key down, 2WS, I'm backwards because I'm looking into the camera, 2WSX, let go of shift 3EDC, hold shift 4RFV. Then when we were told to change our passwords, we just move over to 2WSX, hold shift key down, 3EDC, let go of shift 4RFV, hold shift 5TGB. And that is how we managed to remember our 16-digit character, our 16-character passwords that we were not supposed to write down. But somebody did write it down, and they figured that out, and they saw that one, and they figured, well, a lot of people have got to be using it, so then they just started trying it left and right, and they ended up hacking the network and taking it over and disabling all the other administrators' accounts. And they did not get caught until they tried to get into the nuclear base. The administrators had no idea what was going on. They thought it was a Microsoft security push. They forgot to disable a few of us, so we were able to get everybody back up and running. But if they had malicious intent, they definitely could have pulled something off with what they did. So that is why understanding authentication is so important, because a lot of times it is human error. Now, first off, you have authentication versus authorization. Authorization means, are you authorized to be on the network? And it's really that simple. If you're authorized to be on the network, you are. If you're not, you're not. So they may run a background check on you, something like that. Now, authentication is when you try to log in, is it actually you? One of the least secure ways to do it is username and password, because you don't have to be there. Anybody can log in as you if they just know your username and password. Now, what a lot of places are doing now is using two-step authentication, because they figure everybody's got their cell phone on them. We'll shoot them a text and make sure it's them. So that's how they've gotten a little bit better about username and password authentication. Because with username and password, you can use brute force hacks, you can use dictionary hacks, or attacks, I guess I should say. And there's just too many different ways when the person doesn't have to be there. So the next step up, Okay, well, single sign-on, that's the username and password with password authentication. Smart card authentication is when you use a card that looks like a credit card, but it's actually an ID card. And it looks like a credit card because it has that little chip in it. And you actually have to plug that into the computer. You have to physically have it, and they have long encrypted keys. They use PKI authentication. There's no way to guess that password. There's no way a human can remember it, but you physically have to have that card present. So you would have to lose your card, somebody would have to pick it up, and then they would have to guess your password after that, because you also had your password on top of that. So that's far more secure, and this is what the base did to prevent that from ever happening again. Now, more secure than that is biometric authentication, using something on your actual body. You can't drop your finger. You can't drop your eye for a retina scan, you know what I mean? So with biometric authentication, you must be present and have your password in most cases to get into a system. Radio frequency identification. This one's kind of hit or miss. It's used on cars a lot. People have key fobs that get close to the car and it's capable of starting. You don't have to put a physical key in anymore. It's got its ups and its downs, and you can read about it. It's very convenient, and you actually have to have that key fob, but that's all you have to have in most cases is the key fob, and get close and it'll work. This in combination with a password would be very similar to smart card authentication, which isn't bad. Let me see, what else do we have? Okay, digital signatures are they're highly encrypted, and that's actually what the smart card uses. Digital certificates are usually utilized for a machine to be allowed on the network. So let's just say you got into a building and you had your own laptop. You still can't get on the network because the machine actually has its own logon credentials, and they're called digital certificates. Encryption is the process of converting information into data into code, especially to prevent unauthorized access. You're just scrambling the code, and the other side has the key to know how to unscramble it. And that's PKI, I was talking about that earlier. And the public certificate is the certificate that is usually on the identity cards. So go ahead and read through this. You do have some practice questions down here. This is the word bank. Don't get confused by this. It's not very clear. There's your first word in the word bank. Here's your second word in the word bank. I think the idea here was to save space and fit this all on one page. So go ahead and do the best you can, and let me know if you have any questions.